Entonces ahora yo quiero pasarle la palabra a Tom Goddard, ¿sabes?, que nos va a hablar de cómo se prioriza nuestro sector. Él es el presidente de World Out Home Organization. Tom, te paso la palabra. Thank you very much, Tom.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Well, let's do this, everybody. Good morning. I'm on the timer. It's great to be back in Spain. I didn't make Cordoba last year. I heard it was a great conference, but I was with you in Santiago de Compostela. Had a great time, and looking forward to being with you today and having a look at that magnificent cathedral and the wonderful old town. We come to these conferences with one main objective, and that is to improve our businesses. And today is a Spanish-focused conference, but I have a big Is that better? It's good now? Yes, today is very much and rightly so, focus on the Spanish industry and how you're going to improve that. But Elia asked me to come and just give you an international perspective, because it's often very good to index against the other markets and to see how Spain is doing within that context. I have to say most of the stats show you up in very favorable light, but there are one or two areas that need some work on, which I'll highlight, and maybe you will agree or not agree. Now, I know quite a few faces in the audience and here. My good friend Antonio Alonso over there, we've worked together for many years, and I know Elia and Agatha, and I saw Daniel Quende earlier, but quite a few of you I don't know, so just want to give a quick introduction to what I do. And I spent most of my working life in the outdoor advertising field. Notably, I ran the international division of CBS Out of Home. That's where Antonio and I first met. And I also, more recently, was the chairman of Ocean Outdoor in Northern Europe. But these days I have two main functions, and one is I'm chairman of an advisory panel called Out of Home Capital, and this is a team of very senior out of home experienced professionals, and we give advice to anybody within the out of home ecosystem in terms of projects that they're doing, whether it's M&A, whether it's audience measurement, whether it's a review of their business strategy. And this is an organization that set up 3 years ago, and we've had great success. We see it as a great way for us to help the industry get better. And one of my colleagues may be here. Carlos, are you here? Good, where are you? Stand up. Is it right? Wave. Yes, Carlos Villavidel is one of our panelists, and he is based in Barcelona. Good to see you. You just got in from Colombia, I think, did you? Yes. Well done, well done. So that's one of my occupations. We have already got a very impressive growing list of top clients, and we love the work we do for them. And one of the recent pieces of work we did was we advised Bauer Media on their acquisition of the Clear Channel assets, the Northern European assets that were sold from Clear Channel for $625 million to Bauer Media. My current role is, and I'm here today representing the World Out of Home organization, and I'm here as its proud president. And the World Out of Home organization is a not-for-profit organization, and its sole purpose is to improve out-of-home globally. And we really believe that what happens in each... Is my mic still causing problems, or is it good? It's good? I hear something knocking at the back. We believe that good things that happen locally spread. So if you do a good thing in Mexico, the CMO there will spread out around the organization, and it's very important for each market to carry its own weight. So we very much believe in the Word Out of Home organization, and we are truly a global movement now. We are in 125.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt, Tom. Your presentation is so important that for me to hear it the way we hear it is not possible. So if you don't mind, I can change your microphone because you're listening like, yeah, okay? So you don't mind? No. Good, okay. Because we need to hear him well. So instead of yours...
Do you want to knock this off so they don't have to take it off?
No, it's not necessary. Just to use it. Okay. We have just switch it off. Okay.
How are we doing now?
And I'm very sorry.
I usually sing when I have a mic like this. So. Yeah, so for us, the World Out of Home organization plays a vitally important role. And we are in 125 countries. We're the only main media channel that has a global organization. And we've got 250 members, mainly the major media owners around the world. And it really is a growing movement. As I said, we're a not-for-profit organization. We have a very, very esteemed senior board in every continent, so we get a great consensus of views. We meet quarterly, and we operate 3 major conferences a year and do lots of other things. And one of the things we do is we actually focus on the 7 key sector growth drivers, which we believe are the things that will drive the industry forward. And we believe these are common to every market. So measurement and data, very important. I know this is a big topic for you here. You're looking at updating and improving your measurement systems. Sustainability, I know Stephanie from OMG is going to give a great speech today at 1:30 talking about how out-of-home is doing in the league table in terms of sustainability and carbon emissions. Ad tech, a hugely important sector, and I believe it's a game changer if we get it right. Creativity, you can have the best site in the world, but if you don't have great creative, it's not going to be as good. And best practice, common standards like online. We need to get a much more common language. Associations, this is a great example. I don't have to teach you that. Working through associations is the best way to move the industry forward. And then, of course, collaboration and networking, which you're doing very well. And I believe Antonio Alonso was out very late last night. He wouldn't admit, he wouldn't tell me, but I think he was networking until the early hours. One of the things we do within our organization is we collect all of the data from around the world, from 100 markets, so that we produce our own spend figures. We actually used to rely on Group M and the Big Six to estimate what the out-of-home expenditure does. And that's fine, and they still do that, but we now very accurately collect all the numbers. And the benefit of that is we can look more deeply and slice and dice into each market. And I'm going to share some of the figures with you now. So these are 24 figures, and it might be interesting for you to note that we're now already a $45 billion channel. So we are a force to be reckoned with, and we are the only legacy media channel that's showing this sort of growth. If you look at the three main regions, you'll see that the Americas and Europe, Middle East, and Africa are, similar in size. It's great to see that Europe, Middle East, and Africa has overtaken America now in out-of-home. But look at APAC. APAC is almost double each of those markets. It's just racing ahead, and a lot of that is down to the fact that they are heavily digitized. And I'll touch on that a little bit later on. Are you hearing me okay? Yeah, all good? Good. You all speak so good English. So look, this is a very interesting graph. It's global volume and share of total media. Share of total media is a very important number because although we are growing in volume, from the low point, the low COVID year in 2020, we've gone back up from 30.7 to 45, nearly a 50% growth, and we are now north in volumes since the pre-COVID numbers, and that's something very proud. But the share of ADEX, which is the red line there, is pretty flat. Now, most legacy media will tell you we would dive to have that because they're going backwards. They're losing market share against all of the media. We're holding our own, but we believe that we're a 10% medium, not a 5% medium. And we believe that if we collaborate together and do a lot of the things I'm going to talk about, that we will get up that channel. If you look at the European situation, we are in a better position than the global index, than the global average. Again, we are back up above the pre-COVID numbers, and our share of ADEX is 6.3%. So we're above the global average, and that's very encouraging. The top 10 European out-of-home markets, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany are the big giant markets in Europe, with Spain sixth. But Spain doing very well in terms of share of ADEX at nearly 8%. So it wouldn't take much for Spain to get up to that golden 10% target that we're all setting for the industry. If you look Spain in terms of the point I just made, we were down at 4.5% of ADEX in 2020, and we are now up to nearly 8%. That's a terrific climb. Digital out-of-home. Digital out-of-home nearly represents 40% now of all out-of-home. But the thing to remember is that 40% of revenue that's coming into digital out-of-home is on probably about 10% of the locations. And I'll touch on that later when I talk about classic. So global digital out-of-home volume as a percentage share of out-of-home. As I said, we're just at 37% in 2024 is digital revenues coming through the channel. It's expected to be 40% this year when the numbers come out, and it's forecast within the next 2 years to be at 50%. So digital revenues in out-of-home is going to be 50% within the next 2 years based on current trajectories. Quite interesting to see that in the three big regions, that share is in the mid-30s, all in pretty similar levels, but again expected to grow rapidly. So the top 10 European digital out-of-home markets here, you see again, you have UK, France, and Germany, and you see the percentages they have in terms of digital out-of-home. And this is a very interesting and final slide I'll show you. So Spain, digital out-of-home volume and as a percentage share of total. As I said, you're up to 34% now of revenues in Spain come through the digital channel. But as you'll see, it's plateauing. In 23 and in 24, it's plateauing at 34%. So you need to get that rising again. And I think, if I may say so, I think perhaps when the ownership of Clear Channel is resolved, and hopefully soon, I was talking to Mate about this last night, I think you'll see more investment coming in and you'll see that number climbing up to the expected 40% mark that we'll be in this year. Just to mention programmatic, and programmatic revenues now coming through the channel are 1.4 billion, which is a small number in the overall terms, 8% of total digital out of home, but it is the fastest growing sector. It is the fastest growing sector, but you have to get yourself automated to take advantage of that. So what will accelerate growth and what will get Spain up from that 7.9, 8% to 10%? Well, I'm going to give you a few thought starters. More digital penetration, we've just talked about it. In the markets that are highly digitized, they're growing faster. That's a good example of the situation. Although Spain is at 34%, and the average is 37%, if you look at the UK, 65% of the inventory in the UK is now digitized. And countries like Australia are in the 70s. So there's plenty of growth potential for the Spanish market, which is good news. I mentioned Classic. Classic is perhaps, I think, a little bit of a neglected child, because we talk about digital, and yet 60%, over 60% of our revenue still comes through the Classic channel. And I think we need to make sure that we stay focused and have a strategy for Classic media that makes it continue to contribute to the overall position, because I don't foresee a time when we will have 100% digitization, and you know, companies like McDonald's and KFC and the retailers, they want to have static presence 24/7. Consolidation is another thing. It's a fact that markets that are consolidated invest more in data, they invest more in audience measurement, and they are growing faster. But we are seeing acceleration in consolidation. I mentioned the Bauer Media acquisition of Clear Channel. We had a major company in Abu Dhabi, Multiply Media, bought the 3 largest companies in the UAE, and they're now a digital powerhouse. There are lots of acquisitions going on in lots of other markets. And I think we will see a situation where in the fullness of time in each of the major markets, 90% of the inventory will be traded through 2, 3, or maximum 4 players. And I think that will see an upward trajectory. We must create common standards, and here trade associations do a great job. 60% of revenue comes through online, and they have common language. So we are working very hard with the associations. We have an associations forum that meets every quarter. Elia is on it, and we are improving the language and the standardizations. For example, if you take static, there are 6 or 7 names that people call static. It's called traditional, it's called classic, it's called paper, it's called analog. We need to get the global community speaking in one language. Audience measurement, I'm pleased to say that the appeals that we've been making for the last 5 years, and Daniel will appreciate this, he's been at a lot of the conferences, we now have a rapid expansion of audience measurement, most markets, and Europe is leading the field in this. We will soon see a totally green Europe. But there are areas in Asia and are areas in Latin America that are deserts when it comes to audience measurement. Again, if the whole industry is measured and automated, that will give us greater support from the community, from the ad community. I know you have that under review at the moment, but please, move that forward as quickly as possible. Yes, automation, as I said earlier, is just a real game changer. Advertisers want to buy media at scale. They want to buy it fast. They want to buy it in a place where they can trust with the proper data. And we need to get automated. And you can't do programmatic, and you can't access the programmatic channels if you're not automated. And the buy side needs to connect with our side. The buy side is time poor, their margins are very low, and they're going to be doing more and more buying machine-wise, and particularly with AI. So we have to get ready and make sure that we can talk to each other and trade swiftly. I mentioned Steph's piece at 1:30, I think it is. Is Stephanie here? Yeah, Stephanie from OMG is going to give a talk today on sustainability. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But it's a very important point. Our clients, our advertising agencies are saying to us that they will only buy from people who have a proper sustainability roadmap. My time is under pressure, so I'll move forward. Municipalities, Elliot was saying last night, the relationship is not as good as it could be with municipalities in Spain. Regulations, we have to be very clear that there are good regulations and things that we should be doing and should be doing voluntarily, but we need to be very vigilant in terms of bad regulations, unfair regulations, and keep an eye on that. Rediscovering the creative power is very important. I mentioned earlier, let me just give you a little bit of a taste of some of the great stuff that's going on. And even at a very simple level, and I chose these two examples, who would have thought that a creative could have persuaded a client just to put a poster up that just had pink, the color pink on it? And yet that ad for Barbie last year was an award winner around the world. This is a new one from Lego that I love because the audience has to actually do a bit of work because that copy line has a double meaning and you have to work out what the two meanings of that step on it are. And I think there's still room for great classic effective art like that. So industry level collaboration is a major driver. I asked this question, are we competitors or are we allies? You know, a lot of you in the room I think will be thinking about that for a minute. Well, the answer is we are both. We are both competitors and allies. Local competition is very good and should continue. You should continue to compete for for cities, for franchise, and for ad revenues, but there's much more that you need to collaborate on. And associations are the best place to do that. I love this slide because it just points out that media owners, buyers, associations, and suppliers, you're all allies. We're all in the ecosystem. If we work together, your 8% will get up to that 10% pretty quickly. And just two other factors to conclude that we know are going to affect our industry, and the first one is AI. And it's a big topic at the moment. For some people it's scary, for some people it's a big opportunity. Ad agencies particularly, are not sure how it's going to impact. But I have a saying which is, AI won't change the world, but the people who use it well will change the world. So we need to get into using AI to make our businesses more efficient. And then finally, retail media is absolutely exploding at the moment as advertisers are looking to lose cookies and are realizing that having this kind of media in the proximity of sale is very important. So those two areas are going to change as well. So this is my final summary. So digitize more inventory, reposition classic, more ownership consolidation, measure all formats in all markets. So when you do your review, measure all formats in all markets. Automate the entire trading process, not just the programmatic piece. Collaborate more and get behind your national associations. Control your carbon footprint, harness the potential benefits of AI, and take advantage of retail media. And always have fun along the way doing all of this. I just will finish on a quote, which is, the greatest danger is not that we aim too high and miss it, but that we aim too low and reach it. And that was said by none other than Michelangelo. So, just a whistle-stop tour of what's happening in the world. I hope you were able to hear me okay. And it was really great to be here. And I hope you got one or two interesting points from that presentation. Muchas gracias.